It Ain't Love there by Jason Derulo playing right here on Swahilipot FM. Good morning. You're with me, Miriam Angel and Salim Barisa Man. And I do have Jirai coming up with the colors. And then also French Montana there with Fly Away. Good morning. You're on the Breakfast Club at 11 minutes past 8. And of course, right now, I know you're checking in. So let's see, where are you and where are you listening to us from?
Oh yes, safi sana. Kuna Pili Jabs pana anasema good morning na wasikiliza kutoka hapa Mombasa. Asante sana. Baba Kadela pale pia naye anasema good morning by babaye Masha. Asante sana. Ibrahim Masaku, Klaus Rama Kithi kutoka Mtopanga hapo Kazungu wa Mzini yuko Kaloleni. Alafu kuna Lukman Wesik pana anasema kwema huku, hatujui huko Mombasa kukoje. Komora Philip anasema good morning. Freddy Msanzu na yeye pia anasema yuko shwari na anatufuatilia. Lakini kuna kaka Senior jamaa la Arsenal ameandika mambo ni fire. Alafu kuna Amos Shikari kutoka Watamu Malindi kule.
Thank you so much for keeping us company. Good morning and welcome to the show. Now, this week, all eyes are on Pwani Innovation Week, where innovators, investors, and policymakers are meeting right here in Mombasa County. And so joining us this morning is a key voice in Kenya's innovation space. That is Dr. Tonny Omwansa. He is the CEO of the Kenya National Innovation Agency, or Kenya. We're told to say Kenya. Dr. Omwansa, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Yeah, morning. Thanks very much for having me here today.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Appreciate it.
Karibu sana. Now, for listeners who may not be familiar with what exactly with Kenya, what exactly does Kenya National Innovation Agency do, and how does it support innovators across the country?
Thanks very much. I mean, you pronounced it very well. There are people in places like Germany who call Kenya, the country, to be Kenya. Because for them the Y must take an I and A. So
really?
Yeah, so it's interesting, and sometimes I call myself the CEO of Kenya, and then people ask me, "Are you the CEO of the country?"
Yes.
And I say, no. Okay, so Kenya in short form, I mean the innovation agency.
Yeah.
And our job really is to try and develop a strong and national system of innovation that will catalyze creating ideas to become commercially viable. In a nutshell, that's what we'll do. So at the end of the day, you're looking for creating jobs, you're looking to create enterprises that are leveraging innovative ideas. And these ideas will come from public, will come from students. And as you listed who is coming for Pwani Innovation Week, I wanted to add their students.
Yes.
Because you need academia.
That's true.
That's huge pool of young people coming up with ideas and are supported. In a nutshell, to translate this development of the national system of innovation into tangible things, we work a lot on strengthening institutional capacity for innovation. What I mean here is, if I go to a Pwani University, for example, or Kisumu or Jaramogi Oginga Odinga or a TVET, young people coming up with ideas, or faculty, researchers coming up with ideas, and they publish, and many a times that's where they will stop. Now, our job is to try and see how you move some of those things to be actually enterprises and businesses. So what that means, you must provide leadership. You must have a sense of leadership. We strengthen leadership capacity to do that. Second is that we try to strengthen the policy atmosphere that enables these things to move up the value chain. Third, we try to strengthen skills of innovators and researchers to think business. You have to build your understanding of how do you design value proposition, markets, how you think about sales or pitching or fundraising and so on and so forth. Then we expose people to markets because we know that ventures will be as successful as they can access markets. We also support a little bit of funding. We're not a funding agency, but we support a little bit of funding, and we expose individuals to funding options within government and in private sector. And so we've organized ourselves in a strategic way that we have one pillar of work which is about commercialization systems, and the second pillar of work is around startups, supporting the startup ecosystem. And this could be innovation forums like this, where we intervene in a number of ways. We shape policy, local realities, and try to contextualize how innovation could thrive. Now, world over, there are best practices about how innovation thrives and how ventures are created and how you succeed as a country. Some things are unique, but other reality, and therefore we don't just follow what other countries would do. But there are some things which are generic and common, and that's part of what we try to advance. How education shapes, how markets, how infrastructure, for example, availability of innovation hubs across the country. We try to support for them to be available and localized. Because if I am trying to innovate in, let's say, healthcare, it's different from when I'm trying to innovate in agriculture. And the infrastructural needs I have are different. And so for us is to try and guide the people who are trying to set up innovation hubs, whether government or private sector, on how to be locally relevant. No, those are some of the things we do.
I like that. Now, you've mentioned universities, and of course you work with universities and research institutions, right?
Yes.
In the university institutions, do you incorporate yourself in a certain program in the institutions, or how do these students know that this is a program run by Kenya?
Okay, so our mandate is to develop the system. It is not to actually generate the ideas, and it is not to nurture those ideas by and large. To a large extent is to empower the university to run the program. So we demonstrate some of those things. For example, we've got a program we call Research to Commercialization Accelerator. So we design it on how do you identify meaningful research projects that can have commercial value or potential. And then the second thing is help them with the skills they need and build teams, because many a times people who are researchers and innovators are not necessarily good at creating the business. So you help them to build the team, and then once they have the team, you give them the necessary skills, and then you expose them all the way onto creating a solution in the public. Now we demonstrate how that works, and then we go to the university and tell them, you need to start programs like this. And we will capacity build you. So that's where you do your TOT, you identify the right officers, and you engage the institutional leadership, and you handhold that process for about a year. So they begin to run that program by themselves. So our intention here is that, because if we depend on Kenya to be present, remember there are more than 60 universities across the country. There are more than 200 TVETs across the country. There are research centers, which are about 30 or thereabout. I mean, you can't spread yourself that much, and you want to minimize the dependency syndrome. You don't want people to over-depend on you. You want them to, because they can figure out things you never imagined if you empower them that way. And so we catalyze. Our job is to facilitate and catalyze so that the institutions run programs like that.
Apart from the universities and now because you mentioned the innovation, the hubs as well. Right? What's the other way that somebody who's listening in, especially a young person who has an idea, what's the other way that they can get through to you with the idea?
Okay, so one of the models we use is to strengthen the local capacities to support innovators. Okay, so if we have Swahilipot, for example, all right, my interest is in making sure Swahilipot is thriving. So I will come to the kind of forums they have. We will try to organize joint initiatives and programs that are local and so on and so forth, because Swahilipot has an understanding of the local realities. What opportunities exist here, what the youth, what their capacities are, and they have all the footprints, all right? So, and that happening across the country. One. The second one we use is through associations. So we've got an association of SME enablers. It's called ASEC. We also have an association for countrywide innovation hubs. So they've organized themselves into groupings that then, if I intervene at that association level, then it cascades down to the hubs across the country. Now, we support through programs. We work with a number of partners and activate programs at the regional level, leveraging the innovation hubs locally. Okay, and our interest here is to make sure that best practices are being applied, and that the right partnerships are being built. It's very possible to be misused. It's very possible to have the wrong, people being exploited or whatever. But our interest is just to make sure best practices are being applied, and that the local innovation hubs are accessible by those young people. So I do receive a lot of emails, a lot of requests, and how do I develop this idea? And my best answer is always, which is your nearest innovation hub? Because that's where you'll get the support. I don't want you to start relocating to Nairobi, and then you have to think about accommodation. You think about, there are hubs in Nairobi, for example, that can support. But the question is, which is your nearest? Because then that will make it most convenient.
All right.
Though I must say, not all local innovation hubs would give the support that a particular innovator needs.
That's true.
And in that case, I'll say, well, look, start there. And if it doesn't seem to work for you very well, let's explore how else you can get the support. Remember, we are an ecosystem builder. We are not an accelerator ourselves. So I wouldn't want to tell you, come, we will host you. No. We are a facilitator. We're trying to plant as many seeds as possible of local innovation ecosystems.
Yeah.
If you go to a number of universities now, we've worked with so many of them, and they've established local innovation ecosystems within the institution. The same with hubs. Now we've got over 200 innovation hubs across the country. Bulk of them are actually privately initiated. Some of them are a little bit county government and national government. And for us, that's a measure of success, that we are reproducing as many of these as possible.
Okay. Yeah. So Pwani Innovation Week has become, is pretty much one of the major events on Kenya's innovation calendar. Yeah. This is the 6th edition.
Yes.
Right? So from your perspective, what makes this event important?
Okay. So surprise you that in 2015, I started the first Innovation Week, which was called Nairobi Innovation Week. And by then, I had not even started working for the Kenya National Innovation Agency.
Really?
So here I was a faculty member at University of Nairobi, and I activated the Nairobi Innovation Week.
Yeah.
And last week, I attended the 9th edition. All right.
Wow.
But somewhere around 4 years down the road, since I'd been running it, I left the university, I took a break, and then I went to start the Kenya National Innovation Agency. And in the process, we triggered the establishment of Regional Innovation Hub. And Pwani Innovation Hub was one of those that started early. And even as much as their 6th edition now, right?
Yes.
But they also skipped during COVID because they didn't have, otherwise they would be somewhere around the 8th edition or thereabout. And I know they changed from somewhere March to August a little later in the year. And so they lost a bit of time. Otherwise it will be somewhere around the 8th. And to me, that's a sense of pride that these footprints, now we've got something in Rift Valley. It just happened when we lost our honorable Raila Odinga. We have another one that runs in North Rift. There's something that happens in Mount Kenya, of course. There's something that happens in Eldoret, and so on and so forth. This week, actually, there's Gusii Innovation Week starting on Wednesday. Now, but let's get into the specifics of Pwani. Now, look, there are realities in the coastal region. One model that I studied very well that impressed me is the one by Israel. And the way Israel has organized its innovation ecosystem is that local regions, because they understand their local realities, they make proposals to the government about the kind of innovation efforts they want to run. And then the government is able to provide some backing and some support and attract certain partners and so on and so forth. So Pwani Innovation Week, that is triggered and run by Swahilipot, is a reflection of celebrating. Now, I like to say that, you know, when we organize innovation events, we're not an event agency. Very important to understand that. So it's not that Swahilipot is an event agency. Rather, at one point in time, you've got to celebrate the work you've achieved over the entire year, create new connections, trigger new possibilities, and then activate and try to make a projection of what you can focus on in the next 12 years, 12 months. And so for me, it is a point of reflection that, yes, we made these efforts, commitments, this is what we've done. And immediately, you know, because you build new relationships, and innovation never works without partnerships. Why? Because different levels of maturity of innovative ideas need different kinds of support. There are those who have very formative stages, and what they need is more of skills and training. And somebody who has the capacity has to do that, like to train and facilitate training. There's somebody who has already developed that thing and they really want to showcase, and they are looking for funding to develop it a little further. They're looking for partners. There are very many government agencies that provide different kind of support, and many times young people don't know. And this is a point of convergence where some of these agencies will come around, and we try to invite them and say, KIRDI, for example, or KIPI, for example, or Kenya Corporate Board, there's Industrial Development Agency. Come around and let's showcase. I mean, let's help the young people to know that which you have. So that's one of the reasons why we would have an innovation week. As we develop further, we'll probably break it down into more of almost every county, depending on what are the unique opportunities that are available. About, I think 3-4 weeks ago, I attended Kilifi. It was doing it for the first time, and I was like, yeah, and you tell us what is unique about Kilifi. And then 10 years down the road, we'll look back. Last but not least, you know, I'd like to paint a picture, because I asked this question last week when I attended Nairobi Innovation Week when they were doing their 9th edition. And I said, okay, I was the founder of this and I left. We've done 9 years. Okay, time to take stock. What has this really translated? What are the key indicators of success? And then the next question is, what should the next 10 years look like? And the next 10 years, in my view, should be very bold. Very, very, very bold. And this is the time I think Swahilipot needs to start activating how Pwani Innovation Week now should make a major leap, not incremental growth. Now we should be transitioning to major leap. What do I mean? One of the places I have attended Innovation Week and has been always very inspiring is Slash in Finland, a program called Slash in Finland. Finland Slash is designed by students.
Mm-hmm.
They've done more than 10 editions for sure. It's designed by students, but it's a world-class event.
Yeah.
This is where you get global leaders attending. And this is something I want now. I'm trying to make a projection for Pwani Innovation Week.
Yeah.
So here, the keynote speakers will be the likes of Bill Clinton, the likes of Al Gore, the likes of Mark Zuckerberg, global leaders on tech and innovation. This is where you'll get almost all major investors attending.
Yeah.
This is where you'll get some of the leading startups attending. It's a point of convergence. Normally happens late in November. And that to me was an inspiration. When I started the Nairobi Innovation Week, was an inspiration because I had attended the Slash event. Now, the answer to this is that you're trying to create more successful startups and connect them with the kind of support that they need. Now, it's important to understand that startups don't succeed because of government funding. Government funding provides seed money. It enables exposure. But for you to scale and thrive, it's going to take some private sector funding, because private sector is the one that understands how to build markets, how to build customers, how to create new possibilities.
Yeah.
And then therefore the job of something like Pwani Innovation Week is to create a convergence of the two. But it is important also to understand that private sector funding will not come if the startup ideas don't demonstrate the potential. You know, it's one thing to create a fancy thing and showcase it, and it is another thing to prove that there is market for this thing.
Yeah.
And whoever is coming to invest is coming to invest because they'll get return on investment. Right? They're looking to get, for every shilling they put, they want to get 3 more.
Yeah.
And they want you to succeed, and they want to support you to succeed. So the next level, as I see, of Pwani Innovation Week is how do we catalyze availability of ventures and startups that are very attractive, that we don't need to call investors. They just show up.
Yeah.
Because we've got the pipeline.
I like that.
Okay.
I really love that.
That one is so hard. Anyway.
Now, it is never easy.
Yeah, I'm saying it's hard. It has hit hard.
It has hit deep hard.
Yes,
right. And true. And look, people always ask me, so where are the investors?
That was the question.
That was going to be the question.
Yes.
All right, and I seem to have answered in good time.
You have.
We can discuss it a little more, especially looking at what the context is, what the reality is. But just never forget. Let me explain it a little more scientifically. Maturity of innovative ideas are normally in the range of 1 to 9. We call them technology readiness levels.
1 to 9.
1 to 9. Maturity. So if I'm measuring the way you go to school and you're grade 1 to whatever, maturity, So we call it maturity levels. Normally in maturity level 1, we are doing research, just validation of concepts and so forth. By the time you start doing level 3, we actually have products, prototypes. And many a time, I'll tell you the truth, many a time, I have been to very many exhibitions, and many a time what I find is level 3. Because they are prototypes. You can touch, you can feel, you're like, this is really cool, This is a good idea. It can be very helpful. Investors will get more interested when things are in level 6, 7. 5, 6,
7.
Because they are sure that they will get their returns. Are we together? Now, level 4, we tend to have value of death. We tend to have ideas dying. Why? Because people have invested a lot of effort. It looked very nice. Somebody borrowed some money, family gave you some money and so on and so forth. The idea kind of started looking. But because you don't have enough runway, let me say runway. You know the way a plane needs, you need enough, otherwise you will sink. Yeah? They need enough runway for you then to take off. And so this is what we try to do, support, so that then you don't drop. But the only challenge we have, one of the challenges we have, is government doesn't support too much into halfway. Okay? And then the private sector doesn't come below halfway. Why? This is not attractive to them.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, Dr. Tonny, how does one get from level 4
to level 5
to level 6 and 7?
Yeah. Okay. So this is where the hard work is, and this is where many ideas tend to die. Like level 4, 5. Yeah. We've got angel investors, and you need to be attractive. It's almost like saying, I am a young lady and I am 18 and I am hoping. Yeah. So let's simplify the world,
Yeah.
Doctor. Hey.
You got to be attractive, and you got to position yourself to be attractive.
Yeah.
There are there are people who have the net worth to actually put the resources into supporting ideas.
Yeah.
We have some government programs, and I can go into a little bit of detail, that actually support. But you've got to be visible. You've got to be visible then. And this is part of why our coming to the Innovation Week is important. Walk around the exhibition areas. And I sort of say, look, this idea looks relatively promising.
Yeah.
I make 1-2 phone calls and say, investment corporation guys, I think there are 2-3 ideas. We are a connector. We are a facilitator. So we are able to some extent to support some of those ideas from a government perspective. There are some cases by just being more visible, private sector can come in and say, I can see potential in this thing and I need to. But you see, as the innovator, you've got to be able to, wanasema kujituma. Well, because this is business. This is not
kujituma na kujitoa.
Kujituma na kujitoa.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lazima ujitolee kabisa, because competition is stiff,
Yeah.
and everybody is taking a risk. The investor is taking a risk. And so by the way, we put it this way from an investor standpoint. We don't invest in the idea. We invest in the person. Now, that needs to go deep. And I will explain what I mean.
Okay.
We don't invest in the idea. We invest in the person. You know why? 10 people can have the same idea. So are you telling me to invest in 10 ideas? The same idea 10 times. If I go to Kisumu, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga right now, I'll find biscuits that are made out of insects. And I know I've gone to Pwani University and I found biscuits that are made out of fish.
Yes.
So you are telling me, you've seen that?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Now, are you telling me as an investor to invest in the 2 biscuits? No. I will look between the 2. Who has a chance of succeeding? And I will listen to you, how you argue, how you have assessed your market, the efforts you've put in, the connections you're building, the way you pitch. So I will invest in the person.
Oh, not...
Of course, I am investing in the biscuits. So the idea is not the issue here. But what the differentiating factor is the person. Mwenye atajituma zaidi, who will convince me that I will get return on my investment. It's the one who will convince me of that idea. Because you have both come to my table.
Yeah.
And I have a decision to make. So I'm going to invest on the idea that is being carried by the one who gives me a better chance of succeeding. And this is part of what we're trying to solve. How attractive can you be?
So it doesn't matter whether Salim has actually a brilliant idea. If he does not pitch it right,
it is
stands
dead.
to lose.
This is the next phase for Kenya, if you ask me. Ideas is not our problem. The supply of ideas is not a problem. You ask me, I've been to almost all universities, and I find a lot of beautiful ideas. Prototypes, showcased, and so on and so forth. But very few people are able to convince me that I will get my money back.
That's the problem.
How then do I become attractive?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I just ask the 18-year-old girl. They know. They know how to package themselves. Good. Now, let's go this way. If you demonstrate to me that there's a big enough market for the idea, not just by making a nice presentation. Presentation skills is a very important component. We need it any other day.
Yeah.
But if you demonstrate, that means you must study it and you must well understand it. Now, have you ever asked yourself, why is Israel is called a startup nation? Why is Israel so successful with startups? Yet it's a 7-8 million people country. We are hitting 50 plus.
55.
All right? Why? Their ideas they build are for the globe.
That's
a very small market. I mean, you're creating shoes. Kwani, how many shoes are you going to sell in Israel? But they are super, super successful because they build for the globe from day one. From day one. I mean, you're a student. By the way, on average, a student who graduates from a university in Israel has 4 startups.
Wow.
Let it sink, buddy. on average, a student for the globe.
Yes.
Tuko pamoja?
Yes.
So you see now, it's the way you think. You know, you can simplify the world so much that you graduate and then you say, now what do I start to do? Then I try to figure out. Then I create something for Pwani or I create something for Mombasa. Remember, you're asking me how do I make myself more attractive?
Yes.
That's the question, and I'm hinting here and there. Now, this student who has left campus in Israel, University of Tel Aviv, has an average of 4 startups. 2 of them maybe are doing well and 2 of them are not. And then they are designing for the globe. That's a market issue. They've already addressed, deeply visualized the issue of markets. Now, from there, I am getting more persuaded as a funder that yes, the likelihood that I'll get my return. By the way, investors are camping in universities. I just came from India, for example, last year. We went to a university called IIT Madras. They produce 400 patents in a year. A campus. 400 patents in a year. Their target is to do 1 patent per day. If I tell you how many patents we have in Kenya, I want to lower my voice. You see, those are now indicators of being attractive. So let me tell you now, a classic example on that question. If today you told me you want to build a house, you have a piece of land, and you need 50 million, then I tell you, for sure, I have 50 million. I'm an investor. Then I come to you. Then we discuss, we draw the design. I was like, we visualize how much money. I'm like, this is a very good location. Beautiful. I think this one we can build Airbnbs and so on and so forth. Then after a whole hour of discussion, reflecting on the design, you tell me you don't have the title deed.
There's a problem.
What happens?
It collapses.
The idea collapses. End of story. I was an investor. I came,
but
you showed me
ready.
land, but there's no proof that you have that land.
Yeah.
The land is not yours.
There's no evidence that you have that land. Maybe you have, it's yours. Maybe, I don't know. But then there's no evidence. End of discussion. Attractiveness.
Yeah.
Now, I've just talked about a university called IIT Madras who do 1 patent. There is evidence of ownership of those ideas. So.
The problem is Harper.
Yes, we can go into the problem, but I'm trying to say project 10 years. Remember, I'm making a projection of where we're headed and how we need to conduct ourselves to be more attractive.
More attractive, yeah.
Now, investors have opened offices in IIT Madras. You don't look for them. They are there. They are actually asking students in their first year, which ideas are you working on? Because I have funding. I'll be waiting for it. I like that one. When you're making your defense of your project in your final year, they are there asking, "Whoa, how much money do you need?" That's a system that is mature.
Yeah.
That's a system where now money is not the problem. There are people who are willing to give you the money to risk and try. The investor can now start beginning to come lower in the maturity level. Why? Because they can sign an NDA with you and say, don't tell anybody. I want to have the first rights to invest. Once you reach here, I'll give you the money.
Okay.
Attractiveness. They will come for you.
Now,
Leo
ni kumoto. Sasa,
sawa.
Let's bring it home.
Yes.
Tuko Pwani Innovation Week. Umezungumzia India, umezungumzia Israel, umezungumzia Slash huko. What is it that tukizero in for that youth mwenye anasikiliza saizi that anaweza shika na yeye ni innovator, mawazo ako nayo, yuko nayo ndio hii, ni kitu gani ambacho kwamba anaweza fanya cha tofauti ukimeja kutoka India, Israel na Slash ili ajisukume, atoke na aonekane, afike pale mahali ambapo kwamba panahitajika kwa nini yako.
So it's always good kukubali mahali tuko.
Yes.
As a society. It's just, otherwise you utajiumiza bure yani mawazo, Ndio mambo ikuwe moto sana. So you're saying let's calm down. Sasa 10 years ago there was no Swahilipot. Let's agree.
Yes,
there was no Pwani Innovation Week. So that's a significant development. And don't think that Slash nimeongea that whatever. Walichukua siku moja wakaboom, mambo ikakuwa hivyo. It's been many years of hard work and consistently. So we have to create an image of where we're going. Now, it's important to participate in forums like Pwani Innovation Week. mimi nimetoka Nairobi na ninajua kuna watu wengi wanaishi hapa Nyali sasa kama mimi na wamekuja hapa. You'll get the partners that you need, and that happens once a year. Sawa. So usikose, that's rule number 1. And when you come, usikuje kama muoga, come like we are peers. Usikuje
tuko level moja.
Tuko level moja. I need you, you need me. Tafuta niombe business card, niandikie email, niambie boss ni kitu nilikuwa na showcase pale namna hii, how can you connect me? That one I will do every day. In fact, my team is here looking for guys to support, right? Because sasa sisi tukienda after, like tumetoka hapa, we work there. In fact, next week tuko hapa working on our budget for the next year. When I come here, I see ideas. I'm like, okay, Pwani nitawa support like this. Sawa. So I'm already thinking ahead. Now, when I meet you, you help me to see how I should think more about Pwani. Sawa. So don't stay away from these forums. And as much as possible, kama kuna zile za private sector, be visible. Hiyo ndio kujituma, be visible. If you need any help, kuja. Aya, number 2, kuna facilities kama sasa Swahilipot and others. There are several. Make yourself visible. Tengeneza ka website kako, aanze kuonekana, kujirembesha, si ndio?
Ni macho
tuone bwana. Otherwise unajua niambia uko na idea, ni wangapi wana ideas?
Kila mtu
we are competing to get attention. Hata yule mwenye na pesa ya maziwa anataka kununua kinywaji hiyo nini vitu zote, competing for the same money. So increase your visibility, usiogope. Increase your visibility, and those who are bold, they get the support they need many a times.
The bold ones.
All right. When you look at now, let's look at policy now and funding.
Yes.
Right. Yes. Funding still remains a challenge for many young innovators. What avenues or programs are currently available through Kenya to help them access capital or mentorship?
Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got a couple of programs, and then I will explain to you that there is so much more beyond Kenya.
Good.
Kiwa chonjo. So within Kenya, we've got what we call a Presidential Innovation Challenge and Award. So this is a program where we end up giving upwards 5 million or so per startup that succeeds to that level. There are those who get 3 million, 2 million, 500K, and so on and so forth. That's one classic example. The other one, we support more of people who have research-based ideas, and we call research to commercialization accelerator. And we provide some little funding there and mentorship, a lot of coaching, just to help. Even this presidential award, we provide quite some mentorship and coaching for startups. We target startups, we target students, we target youth, and we target researchers. Those are people who generally have ideas of different characteristics. Now, we run it on an annual basis, and our hope is to increase. Late last year, we hosted the head of state at the Kenya Innovation Week in November, and he pronounced himself that he wants to scale that program and add an additional 1.5 billion, which we're going to be calling it a startup funding program. So part of our coming here next week for budgeting discussion is to see how do we utilize those kind of resources, because we want to scale that kind of a program.
Yeah.
So that is Kenya Innovation Agency. But if you look at the mandate of the Innovation Agency, is to build the ecosystem. Okay. Now, what that means is that we need to make recommendations of funding all sources. Okay. One of them is a National Research Fund. There is a fund called the National Research Fund.
Yeah.
And we write recommendations of innovators to the National Research Fund for them to receive support. So because the fund has been designed to fund science, technology, and innovation. So sisi ni kuassess if this one, then we write. And then now the National Research Fund will then tell us, please supervise them. And we will do that. Now there are several others. The Youth Fund examples, or the Kenya Development Agency. So there are a couple of others that we can make recommendations to. So the pool of resources for us is small, but our job is to identify and facilitate in terms of exposure. Secondly, we've got a network of angel investors. These are private people who say, I've got some extra money here.
Yeah.
One of them called Nairobi Angel Investor Network. Very, very good, because this is really private sector. And they come in and give a lot of mentorship as well. They put in some money and then they handhold you to move up the value chain. But they also must be very sure. Government is less aggressive in terms of looking kama uko sawa. But private sector, wanakuanga very aggressive. But that's a good thing, because it guarantees if you get in, you're likely to thrive. The other one that I'll just talk about is that, did you know that Kenya, now that you asked me about Kenya, is ranked number 1 in Africa in attracting foreign direct investments for innovation and startups? Kenya in Africa.
We're doing well.
Yeah?
We're doing well.
Top.
Not doing well.
Yeah.
We are leading.
We're leading. There you go. You're talking about over 600,000 USD.
Banange, what's the problem?
But if we have that, what's the problem?
Okay. Now that's private sector funding, right?
Why doesn't it translate?
Okay. That is private sector funding. Remember I told you about maturity levels?
Yes.
And attractiveness?
Yes.
1
That
to 9.
money does not play this league of 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
That plays the league
6,
of 6, 7, 8, 9. Sawa. So if you are there, you will get the money. In fact, I've commissioned a study right now called Follow the Money, because I want to answer that question.
Yes.
Data is available as which startups are receiving the money. And there are not many. Those startups are not many. As an investor, if I come and find 50 ideas, and then I look like 3 of them, they really, really guarantee, I'll pump all the money in the 3 only. Because what drives me is return on investment.
Yeah.
I'm not an NGO that is trying to look good or a politician who's trying to get numbers.
Yeah.
No, I'm looking for return on investment. So if it means I put all that money into one idea, if that's what it means for me to get my return, I'll put it
You'll
on
do
idea.
that.
So we are attractive as a country, but numbers may not favor us at this maturity level. And by the way, the conversations I've had with some of the investors, they're always struggling to get the pipeline. They're always struggling to get enough ventures, startups to put money into.
So what you're saying is that there are a lot of ideas that are between 3 and 4.
1,
1, 2, 3, 1 to 3 and
yes,
4.
Yes.
But not enough to get them to 6 and 9 for funding purposes.
There's a problem there. That I have to admit.
There's a problem.
There's a problem there.
So how do we cure that problem of 5, 4, 5?
We need patient capital. Patient, I mean here is that instruments, and this is part of what I'm trying to design using that presidential support. I'm trying to design an instrument, a financial instrument, that is patient enough, but can push you hard enough.
Patient enough, but
can push you hard enough. Because, I can give you a grant of 10 million. The problem with grants, and that government is very good at that. I can give you, awards, grants. Nimesema presidential award. Why? Because you're distributing resources, yeah? Numbers is the thing, okay? You will go and sleep the same night and celebrate, first of all. The following day, utalala paka saa 4. Sema sini kuna grant. Now, you will not be the type that the investor wants if you're sleeping like that. Are we together? So, I need to find a way to make you restless. Give you the money, but immediately you begin working. Grants are not designed to make you work immediately. Labda utajituma sasa utasema si nimefika hata
some level of comfort.
Level of comfort.
Kagari fulani hivi amazing.
So what I'm looking to design is a matching fund where government puts in some. I need a mix of the two. I put in 5 million and I tell you, I will give you the 5 million on condition there's a private entity that is willing to give you another 5 million. That's what will cure that problem.
Yeah.
And that's we don't have a matching fund. I've not seen one that looks like that. So, and I've seen that in a number of countries. So we say, look, I'll give you this money on condition that we'll get a private sector. Now the private guy is going to put pressure on you. Because
they want a return on investment.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're preparing you to move to 7 so
Yes.
that they can really, really invest and the other investors can come.
Yeah.
So they participate in moving you. They take a risk and participate because government has de-risked the idea. We say de-risk, like I've reduced the risk, so that then they can come in a bit later in the queue. And there are those kind of investors. So what we need to build more, and this is our aspirations as we now also move forward, build more of those kind of financial instruments that are patient enough, but put pressure indirectly.
Okay. Dr. Tonny,
Yes.
as we look ahead, what sectors or areas do you believe will drive Kenya's next wave of innovation? And how can young people prepare for those opportunities?
Great. I would say AI is becoming an in thing globally, and I mean, if you're not exploring, because it's argued that what the internet did to create millionaires and billionaires globally, AI would do 10 times better. Now, there are places where I've actually seen where AI now is part and parcel of curriculums. PhDs are being designed, master's programs. They're even making common courses of AI in some of the developed countries for all students to access. In fact, like in Singapore, I noted that people who are 35, 40 and above, you will get even rebates. You will get even funding to go and take AI. If the first world is taking it that serious,
we should. All right.
So AI will be one, but then I'll say also deep tech is one of the other areas. Research-based ideas that, and this is where now I'm also paying a little more attention to university ecosystem, to TVETs, to research centers. So, but then if you look at also in terms of sectors, I see huge opportunities in mobility. Okay, mobility, transportation, this thing like Ubers and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So solutions. Then I see solutions in sports. Wearables, data. People are becoming more and more sensitive about, what my sugar spikes, or how many hours did I sleep, and trackers and all that. So I see a huge opportunity in the sports science areas. I see a lot of opportunity in tourism. We are completely underestimated, and even not sports. When I create a solution in sports, by the way, the world already knows. We were in Tokyo, and then we were number 2. The world has already marketed Kenya for you. I don't need to market. Yes. You understand? So solutions in sports. I look at solutions in tourism. Why? Because we already have the Hakuna Matata. Traffic is there. So if you kind of think about how do I bring tech into tourism, I think there's a huge opportunity in that space. Now, healthcare, no question. Of course, we talk a lot about agri-tech as a very attractive space.
Yeah.
Why? Because people must continue to feed. People talk about ed tech a lot, but of course that heavily depends on digital solutions. Then, of course, fintech. We've succeeded as a country with a lot of fintech solutions.
Yeah.
So there are those kind of spaces, but don't lose sight of traditional spaces that need modernization.
Okay. There's a question here from one of our listeners. Ma, good morning. Ma says, what specific indicators do you look for that convince you that a startup is worth betting on for the long term? And question 2, he says, when investing in inclusive financial products, what risk factors or social impact metrics matter most to you?
Okay, I'll go one by one. So the first one is, what is this that I would look at, the parameters that I would look at, isn't it?
Yeah, for startup, yeah.
I think the first one for me is the market potential. Even before I go too far, the market potential. Yeah. Great idea, because a guy comes and says, I've created a drone. I said, but I can get the drone from China at half the price.
Yes.
So the technology is not the issue. I said, I'm looking, what is the market potential? What is the accessible market potential? Volume, and are there customers who are willing to pay and come back and pay the second time and the third time? That means it can be sticky enough.
Yes.
There can be repeating customers. That's one. Now, then I look at the team. This concept that is one guy who's working on an idea, I know it will not scale. I need a team, and I need the chemistry around the team. And the team means there has to be complementary skills. Don't tell me that you can be a marketer and be a business developer and be a tech, and
That's a lot.
So I would. For me, those are my top.
Yeah.
Market, and I look at the team.
And the team.
Because then I know you can access that market. And then there are several other things you can look at. What's your business model like? However you structured. Those are technical. Value proposition, value addition. Those things, for me, they're more like the secondary aspects the way I would look at it.
Yeah. Okay. And then the question number 2, when investing in inclusive financial products, what risk factors or social impact metrics matter most to you?
Okay, that sounds like a very sophisticated question. I'm even trying to process. I wish it can be.
Ma, stop being sophisticated. Ma is always sophisticated.
So social impact issues, yeah?
Yeah.
Social impact, we are looking at the possibility of making money, but at the same time having positive impact in people. So there's this thing about being human, at the same time make income. So I'll be quite interested in, I'm not an NGO. Yeah, so don't put me normally on just impact and human impact too much, but I'm more interested in what the potential economic opportunities are, then I will make out of out of that initiative. That's probably in a nutshell how I would look at it. What extent, as I have impact, to what extent is there profit?
All right. Yeah. And then lastly, what message would you share with a young person or an innovator listening today, especially those who may feel like their ideas are too small or they don't matter?
Well, patience is important. It's like saying, are you creative? Others would say yes or no. But we are all creative. It's just that we are differently gifted.
Yeah.
And the intensity of our creativities will vary depending on whom we're dealing with. Even that professor of physics who looks like he has beard and does not look serious, they are creative in their own right.
Yeah.
Ideas are valuable. We all have ideas, and it is worth making an effort because to somebody else, that idea is amazing, but you probably might not see it. Now, if I take you to Europe or I find a way to get you to the US or Australia or whatever, you might discover that idea really makes a very big difference to some people. So even if the ideas may not translate in the short term, but you are persuaded that it has some meaningful impact in society, it's worth pursuing it. Sometimes you may not be the one to finish it. Maybe somebody else might pick up along the way, but you'll have made positive contribution to society.
Yeah.
And there are avenues we call licensing, whereby you can actually sell ideas. And there are institutions that lawyers who can help manage those kind of things in terms of agreements for licensing. So make your positive contribution wherever you can. So I would say not too small for making an effort. It's worth it. It should satisfy you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for making time. We have been speaking to Dr. Tonny Omwansa, and of course, he is the CEO of Kenya. Today, you know what? Pwani Innovation Week begins today, 27th all the way to 31st. You do not want to miss it. He said it that you need to be part of that, and you'll be able to make contacts or network with the right people. Show up today. Grab yourself a ticket if you haven't at www.pwaninnovationweek.com. When we get back, we're going to talk about AI, because that's also another conversation that will be taking place today. How to effectively use or leverage AI for your own good. Good morning.
Swahilipot 91.